Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to August, where from where I am doing this live stream, it's about 190 degrees or so, with a heat index of a million or some absurd number. Hi, I am Raymond Camden, and this is Code Break. I think episode 13. Every single time I do this, I'm like, I need to get the right number and make sure I have it available when I speak. But typically, I only worry about it when I post it up on YouTube. That being said, hello, welcome. It has been crazy the last couple of weeks. Like this particular session got moved once or twice. My family and I went on vacation to San Antonio to try to escape the heat. That is a joke, bad joke. Um, and then my wife and I just got back from a couple of days in New Orleans, and all of the school prep stuff is going on. As some of you who know me personally know, I have a lot of kids. I only have four that are in school right now, and the amount of prep work. And to be fair, like my wife handles like all this, but I'm aware of what she's doing. The amount of prep work that is required to get this all set up is just crazy. I have two starting this week on different days, of course. The other two starting next week, and I'll just be happy when all of them are in the regular schedule. And of course, my schedule changes when they're in school as well. And to me, that's like normal time is when they're in school. I've been a little bit lazy this summer in the mornings. Anyway, either way, welcome. If you are here, please leave me a comment. It's always really hard for me to see like how many people are actually live watching this. But if you are here, I would love to see a message from anybody at all saying hello. So I know that I'm not speaking into the void. And oh, this Eric's comment, school starting equals version deployment. That is an absolutely awesome way to describe it. It is like you're deploying to production and it's super, super critical. Yeah, that's what's going on now. And kudos to my wife for being the organizer. I just make things more chaotic. So I try to stay out of her way and just help where I can. But hello, Danielle as well. Danelli, hopefully I didn't butcher your name too much there. Hello to everybody. Let's get started. And before I begin, let me make sure I got the right thing here. Hold on one second. Nope, not that one. This one. There we go. So first off, thank you to my sponsor, Jam.dev. It still freaks me out that I get to say thank you to my sponsor. Like I said, I feel like a professional streamer now. But Jam, this is a free screen recording browser extension that auto includes DevTools. And I think I mentioned this last time, but for personal experience, like trying to help somebody debug something and they're not a technical person, it's really hard to tell them how to, especially remotely, how to open up DevTools and get information from there. And this particular extension handles it for you. It just grabs all of that data and gives it to you. And they have integrations with Jira, GitHub, and more. Again, you can find out more at jam.dev. That is my sponsor. So thank you to them. And let's switch to talking about the topic for today, or actually giving you like a quick recap of where we were last time. So last time I talked about working with the Arduino, my particular model, which is the Arduino Uno R4 Wi-Fi. That's what that particular model is. I talked about my experience working with the hardware, using the IDE, the one that you see on screen here, to send programs to the hardware and have them run. And I actually, couple of things. So first off, big thank you to Todd Sharp. First, he spawned this entire idea of me playing with this. He sent me an IPvo camera, and that's the camera I'm using right now to look at my device. I think I mentioned last time I had some Rube Goldberg type setup to try to get my camera on my phone uh, pointing at the hardware and getting it. And the IPvo just works perfectly. I use Yeah, I keep wanting to show you a picture of it, but I can't actually move the hardware. It's like a little crane thing that just points the camera right down at the hardware. I used this actually in 2013 or so. My first time at Adobe, my first time working for Adobe. I was just a web platform evangelist, but I did a lot of mobile development with PhoneGap and Apache Cordova. And back then, it was a little bit more hard to kind of stream your phone screen to your laptop screen. And I would use stuff like this to show the people in the audience the um, the phone. And I see you focusing. You stop. Just stop focusing. I work to make you good, so don't mess with that. So anyway, I talked about that. I talked about writing code, and you can see. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Talked about working with the code. I mentioned how it's C, and I wasn't completely devoid of any C knowledge, but it had been probably 20 years since I worked with a C variant called LPC for multiplayer games. But just basic JavaScript knowledge and just looking at stuff, I was able to kind of figure out how things worked. Really had not much trouble in getting code running, and I iterated on what I had on the device. And where we kind of ended up at was I have the hardware listening on a MQTT messaging server. This is a pub sub type system that is actually really easy to work with, where you can have multiple devices or code that can broadcast or listen for messages. And they call them topics. And you could see here, I want to make sure it doesn't make it, looking at my screen over here, making sure that it doesn't make it unreadable. Um, but it has a real simple string based organization system where you can have a top level category, a forward slash, and then a subcategory and get as complex as you want. Amazon, I shared this in my last presentation. I don't have the link handy. I say that. Hold on. Let me see. I do. That particular link, I'm not going to open that up right now, but the Amazon doc on MQTT does a pretty good job of talking about it. But what's nice is that you can have this idea of I have a message that applies to the entire house and I want to broadcast to it. Or I have a message that applies to the top floor, only the bedroom, or the bottom floor, only the kitchen. And so you can broadcast very broadly, you can broadcast very specifically, you can listen very broadly, and you can listen very specifically. And it's literally just like a string with slashes, like any kind of directory path. But so I had written the software for my Arduino that would connect to my Wi-Fi, B, listen to the MQTT messages, and then draw on the screen. And I was having some issues earlier. Yeah, so the issue I was having, I mentioned this last time. Last time I talked about this, it had been a couple days since I had connected my hardware. And when I did, I had an error down here saying that COM3 wasn't available. And I Googled and I couldn't find anything. I was like, screw it, I'll just reboot. And rebooting fixed it. So today it had been a week or two since I had a chance to play with it. Um, and I got the exact same thing, and a reboot didn't help. So I kind of panicked a little bit, and then for the heck of it, I switched to a different USB cord, and it worked. And so there's two things I hate about USB. I hate the fact that you always put it in the wrong way first and a second time, which is impossible, but you do it anyway. And I hate that, like, if you look at a cord, it breaks halfway. That being said, don't need this particular message anymore because it is connected. And so my code connects to Wi-Fi, and you can see kind of that right here. It's trying to connect. And then after it does that, it connects to the MQTT server. I have my username and password in the secrets file, but once it does that, it just listens. And that was line 73 on message. Let me scroll down to there. Also, you need to subscribe, obviously, as well. And then when I get a message, I kind of log it out to screen, and then I do a draw message method that handles using the LED screen. Let me get that back on screen. That is this right here. That handles drawing that on screen and scrolling it. And I could get more complex with that, but that's what I had. And then I had some Node.js code that would just kind of simply send a message. So I'm gonna try this out here. I'm gonna put this on here. I'm gonna make this real small, like unreadable small, and see if it's on screen there. And we'll hit run, and you should see Raymond. And I got this as clear as I could. It's probably gonna be too quick, but you'll see something. And there we go. Yeah, it's a little washed out. It's obviously it's a real small screen there, but we'll do it one more time just to ensure it works. And there's Raymond. And if we go into the IDE, we could see that it's logged in that, hey, I got a message and I'm going to draw it. By the way, it was the little LED screen that hooked me when Todd first shared it with me. I was like, "Oh, I gotta have that just because I wanna draw messages on it," right? Todd recently sent me this little doozy, which, does not size very well. Let's reload it. Um, I'm not sure how well the video will go on the stream, but this new piece of hardware, it actually has a small screen that is very highly. That's just too quick. Let's look at that. Or let's do not visual search. I just want to zoom in. All right, you can see it there. But this has a much nicer screen. And by the way, so if anybody wants to buy me this, I will trade you a half hour of cat jokes and web development. You could send this to me. I would be very appreciative. But this is the hardware I'm looking at next. My thinking is that I would love to just have it randomly show cat pictures or things like that. And it definitely looks like it has, even though it's kind of small. Uh, Looking at this, I'm assuming it's the same size as the unit I have now. So it wouldn't be small, but it's detailed. So I would love to put like weather up there and cat pics and stuff like that. Anyway, um, yes. So I had gotten basic Node.js communication to MQTT. I had the Arduino listening and just kind of broadcasting or drawing messages when it got it. And my idea was to say, hey, I use Netlify to host my blog, and Netlify has this option of serverless functions that can run on certain events. One of them is a deploy succeeded. And I thought, hey, it'd be cool if when my website deploys, it could send a message over MQTT and my hardware could show a message. That way I know it deployed. My blog takes between 3 to 5 minutes to deploy. So I actually use logic like this to send me an email. Just so that I get a confirmation. And honestly, I'd actually rather just have something kind of light up. I get enough email as it is, and normally I look at it for half a second, confirm it says succeeded, and erase it. So I did that, and things went wrong. And let me show you. Oh no, actually, let me not show you that. Let me show you the Node.js code. Let me make this a little bit bigger. So something went wrong, and it went wrong in like a perfect way. It went wrong in a very educational way, and I love it when I make like a dumb mistake or a mistake of any sort where it could be a teachable moment. And that's exactly what this is. So when I had written this code, I wrote it very quickly. I had used the documentation for the Node.js package. Um, And this may come as a shock to you, but I just kind of skimmed. I didn't read it terribly closely, and because it worked here, I was like, okay, sure, yeah, it's good to go. And if you remember in the last session, it was just failing, and I was doing some logging. I was trying to figure it out. I couldn't get it, and I'm kicking myself because I kind of knew, like I had something I suspected when I was writing the code, and looking at it now. Let me make this full screen here. Looking at it now, I can remember when I wrote this. I remember thinking, this is doing network type stuff. It's supposed to be asynchronous. But my code is not doing anything like that. I don't have any callbacks or anything like that. And when I looked quickly at the docs, I saw that they had some events in there. And I thought, yeah, this my code must be wrong, but it works, right? So I looked at the code a little bit closer and looked at my serverless function and realized, yeah, I was doing it wrong. And so let's look at this real quick, make this a little bit bigger. Um, First off, actually reading the docs, they had a asynchronous version of their APIs, both for connecting to the server and for publishing, and supported promises. So I added a wait, and so I wait both for the client to connect, and I wait for the publishing event to actually happen. And I think what was happening, if I had to guess, the local Node.js code running via run.js just worked because it was lucky. Like I just got lucky in that regards. And on the Netlify side, it was perhaps taking a little bit more time, and because I was returning right there, it was probably killing the entire process. Um, all I know is that when I switched to this, it began working. So let's actually test that and make this a little bit bigger. Make my terminal a little bigger. Scott, if you're in the group and this is too small, let me know. If you're in this presentation and not paying attention, I understand because I've done that as well. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to deploy my web app. And let's actually go back because the web app is literally just hello world. It's not doing anything else. This will deploy incredibly quickly, which was kind of the point. I didn't want to tie this to my 5-minute process and have y'all listen to me talk about Star Wars and cats and stuff like that. So what we're going to do is I'm going to run a deploy, and then the second I hit enter, we're going to open up the camera to look at the hardware and see the message. Which, you know what? Let's go ahead and change it from Netlify 4 to site deployed, and make it a little bit easier to read for y'all. Bang, 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 bang. All right. So let's deploy, and that is just a command line, ntl deploy dash dash prod, and hit enter and open up the hardware. Use this as an opportunity to take a sip of water. Oh, I forgot it was going to ask me for a darn folder. There we go. All right, it's running. And in theory, boom. And it should be the bang, 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 bang. Yes, it worked. So now, and again, it's low res for me in real life over here, but it's absolutely readable. I know it's a little bit washed out on the camera here, but it's definitely readable. Um, so I got that working. I'm very happy with it, and I could do more. So, for example, there are different colors that you could use on the LED, and there is, I think it's just called, uh, there is a function that will call if the deploy fails for whatever reason. So I could literally message something else and have the hardware use like yellow for a failure. And actually, right now it's red. I could use red for failure, green for success. I could make it, a lot more visibly easy to see. I have options. But I thought let's play with this a little bit more. Um, and what I'm curious if I can do, um, can you go over what I missed? I explained everything in the entire universe, Scott, and everything makes sense now. So we don't have to worry anymore. All is right in the world. That being said, what I'm curious about, what I can do now is I want to have something on my website actually trigger an MQTT message that then triggers my hardware to show something. So you could imagine something like you get a sale. You know, if you're not Amazon and getting a sale every millisecond or so, if you're getting a sale like once a day or whatever, or a new follower on Facebook, something. I want something on my website to broadcast such that my hardware would reflect it. Okay. So, what I thought we would do is go into my index.html page, and to keep it simple, I'm going to have a picture. And if you click the picture, it is going to um, just send me a message. So I'm going to use Place Kitten probably, although Place Kitten has been a little bit wonky lately. In fact, it's literally down right now. Uh, Luckily, there are a few like gazillion pictures of kittens on the internet and cats and stuff. So I am just going to acquire a picture, and I know you can't see what's on my screen now. I'm going to copy this image, and why not drop it into paint.net? And come on. Why did you load over here? Actually, I'm happy you loaded over here because that makes it easier. All right, now y'all are seeing my screen. Let's resize this bad boy down to even smaller, 500 or so. And let's save this. Yeah, take your time there. I know saving an image is a lot of work. All right. And I just don't want y'all seeing my file system because I'm just embarrassed of how messy it is. And we are going to put this in the folder code break. Open up. I'll show you this folder because this is just my repo. I called it MQQD demo, and we will call it cats.jpg, and just save it. Stop prompting me with everything. Don't you have your own pictures of cats? Do you really need them from the internet? I actually I have a OneDrive folder of about 80 cats because I just started collecting them and I figured why not. So I have a picture of a cat, making sure it shows up there in Visual Studio Code. And let's just drop it in here. Image source equals cats.jpg. We'll give it an ID so it's easy to work with, and write a bit of code script. All right, document, add event listener, DOM content loaded, init false, async function init. All right, so let's grab a handle to that image. Document.query selector cat pick dot add event listener. By the way, quick survey of y'all. Um, how many of you find it a little bit of annoying when you're working and your editor like prompts stuff like, "Hey, here's help," etc. But then like the prompt is like covering it. Like imagine you see right now, see how it's covering line 13 and 14. Imagine like if I needed like to think about those lines. It kind of bugs me sometimes when my editor is like actually hiding what I'm trying to read when it's offering help. Probably just me. Like, look at that. Look at that. That's yeah, I guess helpful, but sometimes a bit messy. All right. So on click, and we'll just do like that. Comme ça. You're Is that MS Paint? No, it's not MS Paint. This is Paint.net, open source software. Although from what I know, MS Paint is getting like more and more better. Heck, even like freaking Notepad has tabs now, and it auto saves. So like I'll write quick like notes from a meeting and just close Notepad and not worry about it because when I reopen it, it's there. So MS Paint, I've heard, is getting better as well. Anyway, so just for right now, just to make sure I didn't screw things up, alert 1. All right, and let's run a little web server here. And HTTP, I must you know what? I updated my node recently. There we go. All right, live server. npm i -g live server. I do need to add some arguments to that, but I'll worry about it later. All right, and let's try it one more time. Boom. And you open up in the wrong browser. So let's go back over here. Again, boom saw like that. All right, and click. Cool. I know how to write basic JavaScript. All right. So what I want this to do is use a serverless function because I don't want to embed my credentials to my credentials to publish to that MQTT server in my JavaScript code. So instead, I'm going to do a serverless function, and I'm gonna cheat a little bit here and just copy my Netlify, my current one, cd functions, cp deploy succeeded to, what are we going to call this function? So when you click on the cats, you are booping them in the nose. So we will call it boop. Nope, boop. -r. Thank you. Go in here. All right. So I'm going to keep the same import because I'm going to use MQTT again. And we're going to broadcast, and we are just going to say boop, like so. And actually, let's wrap it in exclamation marks. And by the way, you can draw very basic pictures on this. So I could draw a picture of a cat, a very kind of basic picture of a cat. But I can actually make it flash a cat when a person booped on there. So, oh, did I edit the wrong one? Oh, no, I copied the folder and it named it the same thing. Let's rename this to boop.js. And that should be okay. I believe. Yeah, that should be it. Well, let's see. So let's run this. See if it picks it up. We will do Netlify dev. I don't have a particular web server on here. I don't have anything fancy, so it should just pick it up as static. And if I look like I'm a little unsure, it did something. All right. And let's go back to the terminal prompt. I just want to make sure. Yeah. All right. It worked. It noticed the function boop. So the question is the URL for that. The other serverless function didn't have a URL because it is meant to be run by the Netlify build process. But this should, in theory, and this should give me an error because I'm not actually doing anything to screen. I'll have to fix that in a minute. Functions, boop. And, oh, wow, my hardware, y'all didn't see it. It ran. Look at that. Let me get that on. Let me try to do two things at once here and fail miserably. Here's the website. Let's make this a little bit smaller. And let's like that. And get the hardware. No, too many windows. Get this up. And then again, I will kind of manually do it. .netlify. functions, boop, and come on, baby, show me. There we go, it worked. Now, a proper netlify function should return something, but I'm just going to leave it be for now. And instead, I'm going to go in here and run a fetch command. And because I know this particular function doesn't have any output, I'm not going to wait for it. I'm basically going to do a fire and forget type network request, which I think is fine for this. So we will do netlify functions boop, and like literally just that, and save it and see what happens. I feel weird calling a serverless function and not like returning okay or status 200 or the particular status that is for no content. I feel that'd be the proper way to doing things. But let's just see. I thought I made you smaller. Okay, again, too many windows. Reload, and we'll open up DevTools and see if we get any kind of like network issues or anything like that. All right, and click. And 404, I did it wrong. So .netlify functions boop. It's plural. Okay, so what did I say? .netlify functions boop. Why? I think one of them is netlify dev and one is not. So I killed that. That's gone. So that's very interesting that I can execute it from the browser and just netlify. Lify. I know this is a little bit too small for y'all to see. I copy and paste, and it showed up there. I know I kind of brought that pretty quickly. Brian saying, isn't it just netlify? Yes, and they still use the functions aspect to it. So that should be it. So like literally, I did this in my browser. And I definitely don't want the full domain there, just like that. Let's see if that helps. Let's see if that helps. We'll reload. Boop them. 204. There you go. All right. Maybe I hadn't reloaded properly. You put .netlify. No, you put .net. You think... Oh, interesting. So Brian's is saying let me make that even bigger. Wow. All right. Make that over there. So I had this initially and that failed. Let's actually confirm it fails, shall we? Reload, and it's work. You know what it is, actually? I think I definitely prefer this. And by the way, Netlify lets you very easily map a nicer URL to serverless functions. I think what I did, Brian, is that initially I was using Live Server, which does auto reload. Netlify, you had, what are you saying? No, you had .netlify. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, all right. That would not work. Absolutely. Thank you. I'll also add that Netlify Dev doesn't do auto hot reload. And I think I was partially kind of expecting that as well. But you know what? This URL, it's bugging me. It's obviously causing me issues. So for the heck of it, and we have time, Netlify functions. Let's look it up and see how to do the. Oh no, I don't want the AI answer. Oh God, I'm sorry. There we go. I clicked the wrong thing. And I say that as a fan of AI. I did not want that. Let's get started with functions. Yes. I know about the pathing. And I'm still going to return nothing. I'm fine with that. But what I want is boom, right there. Yeah, they make this so easy now. Export default async. We are going to make a map, a path for this of API boop, just that. And then in my code, I'm just going to hit API boop, and I've saved everything. It should be all picked up. Start using, rename the file. I'll rename it when I get around to it. And let's just bring this up, reload, and I'm going to see how quick I can boop and show you the screen. Let me make sure I see it. Boop, and then boom. So obviously, you can imagine any kind of like website type event that you want to care about. You could even use any kind of error handling. If your library throws an error, there are tools out there that will monitor JavaScript errors and report it to a central console and all that. But you can also just do your own where it would flash on your hardware that somebody encountered an error, and like use it maybe as a way to flash you to go check a particular dashboard that has more information about what went wrong and stuff like that. um, Again, it can be very kind of in your face red flashing that something has gone wrong. uh, we could also pass more data. I definitely appreciate that it's a little bit washed out here. I'm seeing um, on screen here, and it's quick, right? So if you put like a long message like user encountered error in shopping cart, you will probably miss that. That's why I'm really kind of like looking at something like this with the screen, even though it's small, the detail on that is freaking really, really, really well done. And you could provide a lot more information. So I have no qualms saying again that if somebody wants to donate this to me, I am happy to praise your name on screen and thank you profusely while I play and do enterprise cat demos on it. You could do all of that. There's one more demo I want to do, and this was something I'd asked Todd Sharp about MQTT. I was curious if there was an ability to have a read-only account where it could listen for events, but not actually publish. And he said there was, and we're going to do that after I look at or share Sue's comment. Can you flash emojis? Yes. Actually, to repeat something I said last time, and actually let me get to it. When you get the Arduino IDE editor, it ships with a crap ton of examples. And that's like how I learn. And they have like generic built-in examples. And when you connect your hardware, it gives you examples just for that. So, for example, LED Matrix, they have a game of life one, and I think the display single frame demo does like a heart emoji. So you absolutely could. Oh, you know what you could do actually? Um, this would be kind of expensive, uh, but I did a demo where I used Gen AI to analyze the sentiment of a forum. It looked at the post, it looked at the text, and it tried to get the emotional context of all the forum posts and then give you like an average. Now, as you can imagine, for a support forum, generally people are only there when they're upset. So it would trend towards negative. Um, but in that particular demo, I had sent like an email summary, like we have this many posts, this was the average value, and so forth. But you could actually do something a bit more live, where you broadcast an emoji of a happy face or a smile or a frowny face, based on the content that your community is sharing. Um, and the messages and uh, trying to capture my brain here. I need more coffee. This particular demo, it scrolls text. You can draw and just keep it there. So you could have a thing where every 30 minutes, for example, check the emotional status. Are we happy? Then do a happy face emoji. If we're unhappy, show a frowny face instead. So that was a long-winded way of saying yes. And my friends know that I will never pass the chance to answer a one-word question with like 1,000 words instead. So, as I mentioned, there is a way to do a read-only type interface. So, what I want to do is try to make a quick demo of that. I haven't actually tried it yet. Todd gave me the user account, and I didn't try it. We'll call this read.html, and I'm going to copy and paste most of this, mostly just so I can get my this. All right, and we don't need the cat pick, and we'll call this a read demo. So my first question is, can we get the MQTT library into our client-side code? I do not want to download the whole thing. So it's a client library written for Node.js and the browser. Installation. Click. Really? All right, no clicking. Installation. npm install. I definitely don't want to use it in React Native. Really don't want to install a a whole node module. Let's see if, let's do this. Not -g. Let's see if it's going to output a nice client-side bundle for me to kind of quickly bring in. I was like, "Where's my node modules?" I forgot that I made it smaller. Minimus MQTT distribute. Boom. All right. I hate to go right into node modules. Please don't do this, but we're just testing. Node modules MQTT dist, and I was literally just there and I lost it. mqtt.m.js. And let's just load this and make sure that we will also run that. Make sure we don't have any errors or any 404s in doing that. And open up DevTools and network. No, just reload. Oh, I'm in the wrong page. Here we go. Read.html. Good, it loaded. And I would probably just copy out the dist copy of it into my regular website folder, would not try to deploy all this. But we have the library. So in theory, I'm going to see if I can get this to work. And we are going to just connect. And actually, we're going to use our code here and just connect and see what happens. And I obviously, what did I do wrong here? Oh, I removed a little bit too much. There we go. All right. So I'm going to drop this in, and obviously I don't have environment variables, but I do have them over here where y'all can't see. And I do feel safe, mostly safe sharing the server name. Todd will let me know if that's bad. And my read-only username, which is nicely called read-only. And the password, which is I'm going to share because it's going to be read-only. and like so. And we are not, and I'll keep that like that for right now. Why not? All right, so let's just see if it connected. All right, console.log. Okay, I hope. And go back here, switch to console. Yeah, I know I had that syntax error in there. Missing protocol. Ah, yep, I remember I had the same issue. You got to put the MQTT in the host name. I had that issue when I deployed to, yeah, and it is failing. So let's actually double check in my Netlify settings, which I'm not showing y'all. See if I spelled it right. MQTT, that. Well, this may be quick then. If I can't connect like this, and I'm just double checking my Netlify setting, WebSocket connection failed. So if you go back to the docs, I never did import it, but it should be in the browser. It should just be there. Like it would have given me an error on MQTT. And just to confirm I'm not crazy, console.log MQTT, and go back and reload too many browser windows. And yes, it's there. It's just not connecting. And I definitely did the read-only username. I definitely did the read-only password correct. And you know what? Maybe this is just not going to work. Maybe this is a no-go. I'm just double checking, and I'm fine. Like I got other stuff working, so I'm fine. And we could take a look at this either next time. Maybe I'll do a third part, and I'll have the fancier hardware as well. Um, you know what? Or we could just Google and see what comes up. So MQ, I'll say JavaScript, MQTT, and WebSocket connection. WebSocket failed. That looks to be exactly like what we're getting. And Stack Overflow is never wrong. So okay. So for nearly all the servers out there, you need a separate listener for one of for an MQTT and one for over web sockets. So that makes sense. And I didn't set this up. I had Todd set it up for me. So my plan, because we're like 10 minutes out, I'm just going to stop. And we will either play with this next time or uh, we'll do another topic. I'm very curious. Nope, you don't want to see that. Hold on. I'm dragging windows around and stuff like that to make it sure. Um, yeah, so I am very happy I got this working. It's pretty cool, I think. For next time in 2 weeks or so, I have two ideas. We could keep talking about the Arduino and MQTT in general. I feel like this was more MQTT than actually the Arduino. We could keep doing that, and potentially I could have the new hardware as well. Or we could look at doing mapping in the browser. Uh, I have Scott Strohs to thank for recommending Leaflet, and I've actually worked for a mapping company in the past, and I'd heard of Leaflet, never played with it, never. And I was at an airport a couple weeks ago, and I had a couple hours, and I tried it, and I was like really impressed with how easy it was. Like really surprised. So let me know. Send me a comment, send me an email, send me a chat message. We can do more Arduino, or we could play with some mapping stuff and then and have some fun in that regard. Either way, for all you out there who showed up today, thank you. I really appreciate it. Have a good rest of your week. Be safe and all of that. Thank you for commenting and just participating. Really makes me feel happy. I'm not talking into a void, and it makes me happy that I have people that I can share my random fun hacking with. I will put this code in the code break repository. If for some reason you want to take a look at it, you certainly can. And have a great rest of your week. And I will talk to y'all later. Bye bye.